Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. It's still cold. Winter's here, folks. And if you haven't gotten the cold stuff yet, it's probably coming at you. Unless if you're, of course, the folks in California and, southern, southwest Texas, Arizona, Florida, those kind of places. But the rest of you, probably going to be experiencing some cold weather if you haven't already. I know way up in Montana and Wyoming and North and South Dakota, places like that, you folks are seeing like -30 actual temperatures, just pretty brutal. I think it's probably around 3 or 4 degrees right now, and the wind chill, is around -15 or so. And there's just a little bit of snow coming down, but it's just starting, but it's supposed to snow most of the rest of the day. So we'll see if we get more of it. Have you guys heard about the disease X thing? Now, because I'm on YouTube talking about this, we gotta be careful because, they don't like this kind of talk. This is not brand new. It's been out for a while. They've been talking about this for a while. And I just want to make some clarifications. As best as we can tell, as best as I can tell, it's not necessarily a specific disease that already exists, although you and I know that may not necessarily be the case. But they're calling it X, disease X, because it could be some potential possible thing that could happen in the future, near future. And so they're just calling it disease X. But the thing is they're really ramping it up. The World Health Organization and the United Nations just so far this year have already been talking about this. It's become a big focus. And in fact, here in just a few days, the World Economic Forum is going to be meeting in Davos, and apparently that's going to be one of the hot topics. At least that's what it appears is going to be. And so the question is this something, are we about ready to see something big? Could it happen just before the election, maybe? Is that possible? I don't know. There's all kinds of speculation because apparently it's not a disease yet. It's just, hypothetically speaking, you know what I mean. But they're saying that it could be 20 times deadlier than COVID, 100 times deadlier than COVID, is what people are speculating. It's so legitimate, at least in the sense that there's a worry and talk about it, that just this past year, Congress had a bill going through Congress, the Disease X Act of 2023. I think this was back in June or July. There have been reports, again, from the United Nations, World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, all the big globalists warning and talking about this, of how severe this is going to be. And that all their predictions is that, COVID was bad, but this is going to be substantially worse, and it shouldn't be that surprising to us. Many of us thought that COVID was really more of a beta test. I'm not saying that it wasn't real, but in a way it was kind of a beta test, whether purposefully or it just worked out that way. And we've heard all the warnings from Bill Gates to Fauci and other people like that there's going to be another one coming, and it's going to be even bigger and better and badder. And so we should get prepared. And since COVID started, most of the world's governments have been actively pushing and advancing their surveillance and their technology and the ability to track things substantially. The trackings, contact tracing, tracking stuff, the CBDCs, phone identification, retinal scans, palm scans, all that kind of stuff. We have seen an explosion of that just in the last 3 or 4 years. And while I don't think it's necessarily that COVID was what started that. I think COVID was the excuse to push that, because this technology has been going around for a while. They've been developing it for a while. It just so happened, what a coincidence, right? That this disease spread around the world and gave them motivation and the justification to tell the rest of the world, all the people, that, hey, see, if we'd had all these things implemented and in place, we could have traced this and tracked it better, and we could have potentially prevented it spreading so much better. So, that's what we're seeing happen. And so all of that has been building. They've been developing that technology, perfecting that technology for the last 3 or 4 years. And then now we're talking much more open and regular about this disease X. So I guess the question is are we going to see it? Could it happen this winter? They're already saying how many increased cases there have been this year from COVID and the flu and RSV and all this kind of stuff. Are we going to see a disease X pop up this winter? Is it going to be this summer, this fall, or is it just some far off in the distant future? My guess is it's probably going to be sooner than later, especially if it's used in any way for, you know, their plan. It would almost have to be sooner than later with everything going on. I mean, when you think about it, well, we've got banks on the verge of collapse, and that's not speaking out of line. I mean, look at Bank of America. If you haven't watched in the last few days, they've lost significant value. There's already talk about Bank of America potentially collapsing, which could cause a massive domino effect. Bank of America is what, like the 3rd largest bank or something? It's in the top 5 of the largest banks. And so if Bank of America collapsed, do you realize how big of a deal that is? They've lost $100 billion just in the last quarter alone. And I already talk about that. So we've got the banking problems, we got currency issues, debt issues, we got all the global war stuff, and then, you know, the immigration issue. You take all that together and then you throw in some new novel virus kind of thing. Yeah, that we're talking like apocalyptic level of chaos there. With the amount of people coming across the border, you know, it would be very easy for something to come across the border and be spread around. Is that the plan? Is that going to happen? I don't have an answer to that. I can tell you that it would seem very likely that could happen, and we have to be prepared for that. This is because if something like this happens at this, you know, place now that we're at, this you know, spot that we're in with all the things that's going on, an election coming up and everything else, it would be monumental devastating, especially if it was legitimate, you know, high mortality rate kind of disease, you know, something in the line of, you know, the Spanish flu or even the Black Death kind of thing. It would be devastating to not just the United States, but to the whole world. And it could potentially, I mean, I could see the scenario where this would lead definitely into that kind of beast system. You know, something or someone rising up that has a solution to it all and brings about this false peace. Not saying that it will happen. I'm just saying I see that there's a potential for it to happen. And because there's becoming a stronger and stronger likelihood, I believe that we should most definitely be preparing for this. I mean, you prepare for it like you do everything else, but at least aware of the possibility of this happening, and keep getting ready. If this, or even close to this scenario that I've just kind of laid out for you with all the possibilities, if even close to that happens, the amount of panic, the amount of chaos, collapse, destruction, it could completely overwhelm everything. And that could be the kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back, the catalyst to cause everything to fall apart. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just to, you know, reduce the size of the population. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it never happens. But I think that there's so much talk and so much hype about it right now. We certainly need to be gearing ourselves up for it. We need to be, you know, making active plans. Honestly, for a scenario like what I'm speaking of, the best thing to do is to get out and away from people and to learn to be self-sufficient as possible. That should be, I mean, I can't tell you what to do with your life, but really that should be like your primary goal right now. I understand stocking up and stuff is important, but you should be planning to get away from people. Now, don't do it in a dumb way. And what I mean by, don't be offended by what I just said. But what I mean is, I've seen far too many times is folks that's lived in the city, and you know, they've never lived out like this. They've never done anything gardening or animals or even fixing their own home or their car or anything like that, and they just up and move out here, and they haven't planned and prepared ahead of time. You know, if your goal is to live like this or to get out away from people, you need to start learning now. You know, watching videos, reading books. How do you garden? How do you fix things? How do you take care of animals? How do you build a fence? You know, how do you repair something? You get out like this, you're more on your own. You know, you're not going to be able to just call a repairman or someone anytime you want something fixed or done. You got to learn to do it yourself. So just like you would learn how to use a firearm or how to put a tourniquet on, you need to learn how to be self-sufficient and not just hope that living away from people is enough. You need to learn how to live in this manner. So be doing that kind of stuff, getting yourselves prepared, and if you so feel led, definitely be getting the heck out of Dodge. You know, get out of the Babylon, folks, because if all this stuff that I'm speaking of happens, or even a portion of it, which some of it really already is, the illegal immigration and the wars around the world, but if it all starts coming together, it's going to be devastating. And I know there's going to be someone saying that I'm a doom and gloom kind of guy and stuff. It's not. It's just reality. This is the reality of what's happening, and a very strong possibility of what will happen in the future. And we have an obligation, a duty to our families and to our loved ones to get ourselves ready and not just sit idly by and let it all happen. So get your houses in order, folks, and prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.